How to Take Over the World, Scott Goering.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, to give a speech about giving a speech in an international speech competition, maybe a little redundant, maybe a little self-indulgent, but there are lessons to be learned in giving a speech, life lessons, which if applied to one's life will assist that person not only in giving great speeches, but will in fact assist them in any area of their life that they apply those lessons to, even to the point of taking over the whole world. So I invite you to come along with me as we take a little journey looking at 3 life lessons to be learned in giving a speech and how to take over the world. Lesson number 1, make friends with your body. Make friends with your body. Every body here has a body. Tall or short, whether you like your body or not, your body is going to follow you around the rest of your life, assisting you in everything that you do up until your dying breath, including helping you give great speeches. Now here in Toastmasters, we receive a lot of practical instruction about how to use our bodies as dynamic instruments of communication. We give, for example, the Let Your Body Speak speech, and we're instructed to walk around in front of the crowd and make use of the space, and then to gesture at appropriate points in order to lend emphasis to different parts of your speech. And we tell ourselves if we do this, we'll be dynamic communicators. But in fact, doing these things by themselves does not make a person dynamic. What we've learned is that dynamic communicators tend to do these things. Their bodies know what to do. And that says this: your body has an intelligence all its own. Without any conscious involvement on the part of your mind, your body knows when to eat. Your body knows when to sleep. If you go to the bar tonight and try to flirt with that attractive person at the end of the bar, your body is trying to trick you into breeding. And your body wants to be a dynamic instrument of communication if you just get out of the way. Now, the problem is many of us have never really made peace with our bodies or ourselves. We walk through life afraid to show up, not only afraid of what people will think of what we look like, but just afraid of whether they'll like us or not. We walk around with psychological fig leaves, so to speak, and we never really show up in a situation with all that we are. And if we make peace with ourselves and our bodies, we are able to show up in any situation with all our faculties, all our flags flying, all our guns firing, and we are able to change things because we are able to be there in a way that we would not be otherwise. Make friends with your body. Lesson number 2, internalize your message. Internalize your message. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me start out by telling you what it doesn't mean. Typically, when we give speeches, we memorize the message. We take a piece of information, and another piece, and another piece, and then we think about how we want to say it, and we try to cram it all together, and then you try to stuff it into your head so that you can stand in front of people and recite that information and hope to God you don't forget anything. Now, that's not internalizing your message. Internalizing your message is what happens when you meditate on the message. You ruminate on the message. The word ruminate is very interesting. If you look it up, it comes from the Latin root word ruminatus, which has 2 meanings. Basically, one is to think about something over and over, but the other lends reference to cows grazing in a field. And what does a cow do when it grazes in a field? It takes a big mouthful of grass, it chews on it, swallows it, spits it back up, chews on it some more, swallows it, spits it back up, chews on it some more, and swallows it, and continues in this process until the grass becomes assimilated into the cow itself. Now, by way of comparison, when a person ruminates on a message, you take some information and you think about it, and you turn it around in your mind, and then you go throughout your day or your life or whatever, thinking about the information. Perhaps you have formal periods of review and then informal periods of review, and you continue to acquaint yourself with that information till it becomes assimilated in who you are as a person, to the point that the message becomes the person. So that when you come to a speech, it's not a matter of standing up and trying to come up with the right words. It's a matter of coming there and giving words to that which is already very much a part of yourself because you have internalized the message. Now, this can assist you in other ways as well, not just in speech giving. If you go through your life internalizing your life message, you can go into any situation not having to come up with the right answer because the answer shows up with you. People will look at you and say, I know what that guy's about because his message shows up with him when he walks into the room. Internalize your message. Finally, turn it on. Turn it on. Now, what do we mean by turning it on? Well, let me again tell you what I don't mean. Turning it on, if I were to stand in front of you today and ostensibly give a speech and open and close my mouth and just say the words and then move around because that's what I heard you're supposed to do, and then finally on 7 minutes, good, I'm going to sit down, glad that's over with. That is not turning it on. Turning it on recognizes that every situation in your life is an opportunity to bring your energy, your focus, your intention, and say, I will lend my energy and influence to this situation in order to change it, in order to make something happen here that would not happen otherwise. All of life is a series of opportunities that I can step into and make something happen. The late writer Susan Sontag said, speaking about writers, said, a good writer is somebody who is interested in everything. And if I could invert that, I would say a good speaker is somebody who can make everything sound interesting. You can take your energy and your intent and your heart and you can talk about something as mundane as Midwestern paint drying techniques and people will sit at your feet enthralled with the pearls of wisdom dripping from your mouth because you take your energy and put it into your listeners. Now obviously this applies to more than just giving speeches. You can take your energy, your intent, and say, my life is an opportunity. I will lend the influence that I have to anything that I'm a part of and make something happen here that would not happen otherwise. And you will be elevated from just somebody going through the motions to somebody who is qualitatively different because you have decided to put yourself out there in a way that many of the rest of us do not. So in closing, you thought you were in Toastmasters just to learn how to give speeches and standing in front of people and trying to not stammer, and that's a commendable pursuit. But little did you know that in giving speeches, in following this path, you are not only improving your public speaking skills, if these lessons are applied to your life, you are well on your way to changing everything about you, to changing the world in which you live. Welcome to Toastmasters, everyone. I'm glad to have you along on the journey. Mr. Toastmaster.